Any of you ever seen a story online that you thought was getting way too much media coverage? Or maybe the opposite. Maybe you heard of a story and then you thought, oh, this is going to make national news, but it never does. This is actually a very thoughtful strategic plan on the media's part, and it is a phenomenon known as agenda setting theory, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So agenda setting theory is the influence of media that affects the presentation of reports and issues made in the news, and that affects the public mindset. So basically, the media picks and chooses which stories will be the most popular, which ones that they want you to focus on the most, based on their set agenda. Now, agenda theory doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, so don't ever think that I'm bashing this theory or saying the media is evil because they have an agenda, although that very easily can happen. There are a lot of different facets to agenda setting theory, including what we're going to focus on the most today is political agenda setting. So politicians are just as capable as agenda setting as the media. They're kind of members of the media. So how we're going to look at this today is we're going to go over two different popular stories that have been in the news, the Epstein files and data centers, very relevant. And we're going to go through the two clips from politicians. And we're going to, while you're watching this, I want you to ask yourselves two different questions. First of all, what's being said? What are these people saying? And then second of all, what's not being said? Because a lot of the times, that is the most important thing of what is not being said. So this first clip is from Donald Trump, and this is after a reporter asks him about the Epstein files, not too long after he has taken presidency.
I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden.
All right, so what's being said? So he uses a lot of interesting words here, and I think probably a lot of us use clips of Donald Trump because he's the most, he usually just says what's on his mind. There's not a lot left unsaid with him, but there is still very much an agenda that's very obvious. First of all, he says he's not interested. He uses the word hoax and then uses worst scum on earth to describe the people who have pushed the Epstein files, I guess. So we can see very blatantly here that he wants his audience to not be interested in the Epstein files. He wants them to not believe in them. And then he later uses Joe Biden and other Democrat politicians to display why this is a hoax and why it's bad. What's not being said and what's the agenda. And I left these two things blank because I want you guys to think about it for yourselves, because I could probably think of 10 different agendas that he doesn't directly outright say within this one clip. First of all, he wants people to stop talking about it, that he doesn't find it interesting, so you shouldn't either, and that's, I think, what's not being said here. Okay, next, this is a summit from different mayors of in the US, and they are meeting together to talk about data centers. So
it's exciting to be here. I see a room packed. Apparently, you got the message through AI or data center with your cell phone. Everybody's here. I mean, we're utilizing that technology. We're excited to share some of the things that Mesa and our area has done to help just bring data centers to our area.
Okay, what's being said here? So this man, what do you guys think? Do you think that he is pro-data center or not pro-data center? Let's look at the words he actually says. He says, the clip cuts off just before the beginning, but he uses the words excited, organic, and utilizing technology. These are overall very positive words, and this is just him making his own introduction. This is not him debating about anything, so he's clearly painting data centers in a very positive light. This is his agenda, is to have more data centers around. And I think that goes into what's not being said, is he doesn't outright say, guys, I love data centers, we need to put them everywhere. But the way that he talks about them with the certain words, the word organic especially stuck out to me, because usually data centers and organic feels like an oxymoron and doesn't belong together. So through that, we can find what is his agenda. His agenda is to have more data centers, which Mesa, Arizona has, I think, 20 data centers currently, and they want to put in more. So does agenda setting actually work? I would say, well, specifically to these two, I would say yes. So I have these two articles. This one is from 2021, and it's the most recent article I can find about data centers in Mesa, Arizona. And it's 2026. This one I got from CNN, but I looked a lot of places of all different news sources to find things about the Epstein files. And I was pretty disappointed about what I was finding as far as reports go. So I would say that their agendas definitely worked in some capacity. I think this is also left a lot to your own personal opinion. But whenever you're looking or listening to a politician or looking at the media, it's just important to remember that there is an agenda behind what's being said, whether positive or negative, and it's something to be aware of. And we need to pay attention to what people are saying, but most importantly, what people are not saying, and that's usually where the true message lies. And then, thank you very much.